The journey of the hero, as described by Joseph Campbell in his influential work, The Hero with a Thousand Faces, is not simply a mythic pattern. It is a map of psychological transformation. Campbell's hero's journey is rooted in universal mythic structure, the call to adventure, crossing the threshold, facing trials, encountering allies and enemies, entering the abyss, experiencing transformation, receiving the boon, and returning to the world with newfound wisdom. But this journey is not just the tale of ancient warriors or modern-day protagonists. It is the story of the soul's path toward wholeness. Carl Gustav Jung, decades before Campbell, laid the psychological groundwork for understanding these myths as projections of inner processes. For Jung, myths and archetypes are expressions of the collective unconscious, timeless images and patterns that shape human experience. The hero, in this sense, is an archetype that represents the part of us called to grow, to leave the known world of the ego and venture into the unknown realm of the unconscious in search of the self. That Jung's process of individuation parallels the stages of the hero's journey. Individuation is the unfolding and integration of the personality, the process by which a person becomes the self, whole, unique, and conscious of their full nature. It begins with a rupture. Something shakes the ego's sense of identity. This is the call to adventure. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But to achieve this, one must venture beyond social conditioning and personal illusion." The crossing of the threshold corresponds to the descent into the unconscious. This is the moment the ego faces the shadow, those denied, rejected parts of the psyche. Jung emphasized that we must confront and integrate the shadow, for without this, the ego remains inflated or brittle, unable to access its depths. To confront a person with their shadow is to show them their own light, Jung wrote. This paradox lies at the heart of transformation. As the hero moves through trials and temptations, so too does the individual meet complexes, inner figures, projections, and archetypes, each demanding awareness and assimilation. The anima, or animus, the inner feminine or masculine image, often appears at this point. In myths, this may be a guiding goddess, a seductress, a mysterious stranger. In psychological terms, this represents the awakening of the soul function, the beginning of psychological wholeness. The deepest part of the journey, the abyss, or what Campbell calls the belly of the whale, corresponds to Jung's concept of the nigredo in alchemy. It is the dark night of the soul, the moment of despair and ego death. Here, transformation becomes possible. In Jung's terms, it is only through the dissolution of the ego's illusions that the deeper self can emerge. The hero receives the boon, wisdom, a sacred object, a new consciousness. Psychologically, this is the emergence of the self. The mandala, which Jung described as the symbol of the self, often arises in dreams during this phase. It represents inner order, unity, and transcendence. But the journey does not end here. The return is essential. The hero must come back to the world and integrate what has been discovered. In Jungian psychology, this is the reintegration of the ego with the self, not escape into mysticism, but embodiment. The individual brings their transformation into their relationships, work, and creative life. Jung observed that without the return, there is a risk of inflation, the individual mistaking insight for enlightenment, becoming trapped in spiritual exceptionalism. The true task is to live what has been realized. This process is endless. Jung believed that individuation is not a goal to be reached, but a path to be walked again and again in deepening spirals. Every new crisis, every new threshold, reawakens the archetype of the hero within us. Jung and Campbell, though speaking in different languages, one psychological, the other mythological, point to the same truth, that the path of the hero is the path of the soul. To become whole, we must leave the comfort of the familiar, face the chaos within, and return with the gifts of insight, love, and authenticity. In this sense, the hero's journey is not about escaping the world, but transforming it from within. Each of us, regardless of our external lives, is called to this inward journey. And as Jung wrote, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." This is the hero's call, not to fantasy, but to awakening. and it begins when we dare to follow the thread of our own becoming.